Good morning, everyone. Clint McLaughlin here with Midwest Market Management. Got Riley Sykart on with me here. It is Thursday, June 5th, wrapping up another trading week. Weather is just a little bit more of the same, Riley.
Yeah, not really any new stuff from Tuesday, but just some interesting different views. So if you're ready, let's just hop into it. Perfect. So first thing I want to show here, 1 to 5 day temperatures. A little bit cooler than some guys would like to see, lower 70s until you get more into the Delta. I wouldn't say this is a market concern, but we are getting to the point where some crops are, I wouldn't say over a large average are behind, but compared to the last couple of years, not what we've been expecting. So some heat would really be nice. And as we look into the 6 to 10 day, it starts to warm up a little bit more. So that's helping to alleviate some of that. Um, it just feels like the heat hasn't been able to stick around for a long period of time this year. So interesting to keep an eye on that. Growing degree days haven't been quite what they've normally been, but I definitely wouldn't say this is a national yield changer. I mean, all it takes is some sunlight in this corn and soybeans, they'll just shoot right up.
UV indexes are high, sun's out. It's not as warm as you'd like to see, but definitely, we would love to see it heat up a little bit. Another interesting, observation on my end, just from a personal standpoint here, is we keep hearing all these forecasts of the heat waves, and bunch of people up here in Northeast Wisconsin, it gets above 75. Everybody's squalling because it's getting hot, but we were calling for 3 days at 90, and when we by the time we got there, we never even breached 90 degrees one day, and the remaining 2 days were, had fallen off. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues, Riley, where we fall short of as we're predicting temperatures out in the 6 to 10 day forecast, are we going to fall short of those temperature levels?
It'd be interesting to see because one thing too, guys realize in corn, once you hit that V7 stage on corn, that plant's decided how many tall and around that corn plant's going to be. So getting some heat during that time to help the growth can make a big difference. So interesting to see if the heat can come in time to really help that out. So moving more into the forecast, previous 13 days, there's been some rain, most notably, it sounds weird to say this, but wheat country, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, areas that we're getting to the time of year where they don't really want rain anymore because they're wanting to get wheat harvest underway. But on a yield perspective for corn and soybean side, definitely going to help out giving some moisture in the ground. But for wheat guys over there, that's not so much of a thing they want to be seeing right now.
Also worth noting here, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, northeast Iowa, really the eastern half of Iowa. I'm not saying that it's dry, but there is a drier pocket in there that seems to somehow be missing everything. I mean, we've had so much rain moving, and a lot of the maps have been showing rain in that area, but radar maps don't always materialize. And, that little pocket there, that's some pretty important real estate, Riley.
Yeah, it goes back to I've heard a few farmers tell me this as I'm sitting here in central Iowa. I-35 runs right through the heart of the state, and it feels like those rain clouds hit I-35 and Moses parts the Red Sea. And the rain either goes to the north or it goes to the south. And that map pretty much shows exactly that. So 1 to 13 day, one thing to note, those farmers struggling there in southern Ohio, southern Indiana, I don't know if they got gaps in between these rains to get any crop in the ground or not. We'll find out more next week, but it's we're still not forgetting about those guys because I know their plant date's coming is actually today is their
Today.
final plant date. So interesting to see what happens there. Could acres be affected by that? I don't know. Clint, what's your thoughts on that?
We'll see come June 30th.
I feel like we've said that one before. But moving into the surface soil moisture, actually a little bit drier than I would have guessed. Um, Nebraska, after getting all these rains, it looks like there was a chunk right here in this northeastern part of Nebraska that missed a lot of those rains. So kind of interesting to see that surface soil, like you mentioned, that northern chunk of Illinois, and then a lot of Iowa, whether you're in the central or either in the northeastern half, a little bit drier, but I wouldn't say there's any critical drought concerns at this time. So not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. Subsoil showing that same area in Nebraska, struggling a little bit, but I wouldn't say there's any big issues. Drought monitor map showing exactly what we just mentioned, Clint, that northern Illinois, eastern Iowa, and then that chunk of Nebraska. You need some rain in those spots, but there's never going to be a year where everybody's well watered. So not really anything unexpected right now. Moving in the 1 to 5 day precip. I feel like we've looked at a chart like this many times, that eastern corn belt starting in Missouri and Kansas and moving east, just more rain in the forecast for those guys. Definitely not what they want to be seeing. But for every area that's got crop planted, definitely beneficial this time. Anytime you can get rain in June and July, I'd call that a gift. So definitely helping the national yield for those areas. If you are stuck in those unfortunate regions where you're sticking crop in the ground yet and trying to finish up, I know it hurts, but overall, good. I would say this is not going to start a bullish rally by seeing rain in the forecast. 6 to 10 days starting to dry up a little bit more. Some regions of South and North Dakota look to get a little bit of rain, but other than that, 6 to 10 day looking a little bit drier. Definitely wouldn't say there's any drought concern coming up right now, but if that trend can continue for 2-3 weeks, then maybe it becomes a conversation. But this is getting us through the 14th of June, and at that point, we're not in need of rain yet. So
I would like to point out here, though, that the futures markets generally are forward looking, and we've absorbed the idea that we're off to a great start. And I by no means am in any way, shape, or form beginning to ratchet down national yield perspectives right here and now. But I am going to point out the 1 to 5 day, the 6 to 10 day in that area we're talking about of Iowa and northern Illinois is dry. So, if that materializes and we get to the end of this map, which is June 14th, and the 13-day outlook from that day is more of the same of this, I do believe the market will take some pretty significant notice. And you got to, keep in mind that we are, closer to the lower end of the range than we have been in the upper end of the range. And it's not impossible that this market's going to put some risk premium in here to try to absorb some of that. Now, what you want to do with that is up to you, but for us, we'll be looking for selling opportunities if that were to materialize.
Yep. And the one other thing to note here as we go to the 1 to 13 day, there were talks of some tropical storms over the next couple of weeks. That's why all this rain's being shown for the eastern half of the United States. Until a tropical storm hits, I struggle to tell you I'm a meteorologist and know what's going on. We're grain brokers. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of thought into this until it's confirmed.
But, yeah. And then with them storms, it's like when you're trying to predict them, particularly their impacts on inland into the middle of the country, like who's drawing that line between the yellow and the red? You know what I'm saying? There's a pretty distinct line that runs from the southwest to the northeast in the yellow there. Well, who's to say that that can't be 400 miles further to the northwest, or maybe it doesn't make it that deep inland, or so like you say, Riley, it's pretty tough to predict right now, but we do know that they're out there and they could push some too much rain or maybe the right amounts of rain. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yep. But other than that, that's it for today's weather. Not anything super exciting, but starting to be some thoughts creeping in the back of our minds, like you mentioned, that dry pocket. So worth keeping an eye on for sure. But that is it for the maps today, Clint.
Yeah, appreciate it, Riley. Before, if you're still tuned in, you may want to check out our next broadcast. We're going to put that out here in a minute. We got some interesting thoughts on the 2026 crop, so we're going to dive into that a little bit. But for the time being, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Check us out at MidwestMarketManagement.com. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.
This material has been prepared by a sales or trading employee or agent of Midwest Market Management and is in the nature of a solicitation. This material is not a research report prepared by of Midwest Market Management Research Department. By accepting this communication, you agree that you are an experienced user of the futures markets, capable of making independent trading decisions, and agree that you are not and will not rely solely on this communication in making trading decisions. Distribution in some jurisdictions may be prohibited or restricted by law. Persons in possession of this communication indirectly should inform themselves about and observe any such prohibition or restrictions. To the extent that you have received this communication indirectly and solicitations are prohibited in your jurisdiction without registration, the market commentary in this communication should not be considered a solicitation. The risk of loss in trading futures and/or options is substantial, and each investor and/or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated by simulated historical tests of strategies, is not indicative of future results. Trading advice is based on information taken from trades and statistical services and other sources that of Midwest Market Management believes are reliable. We do not guarantee that such information is accurate or complete, and it should not be relied upon as such. Trading advice reflects our good faith judgment at a specific time and is subject to change without notice. There is no guarantee that the advice we give will result in profitable trades.